welcome to the Pool Chasers podcast, and you know what time it is. It is time for PoolPro Magazine. We have Megan Kendrick in the house. How's it going, Megan?
Oh man, it's going good. We're recording on a Saturday, which is a little different for me. So I went to my daughter's very first basketball game this morning. So that was really fun. I mean, she's 7 and pretty awful, but that's to be expected when you're 7, right?
Does she listen to the podcast?
Definitely not. But my husband does, so he'll get a kick out of that because whenever we go to practice, one of us will come home and just be like, "Oh, I don't know, man. It's pretty rough."
It's all right. You'll get better. She played, right?
Yeah, she played. Man, she hustled. They had a double header, and she stuck with it the whole game up and down that court. So she got a lot of good exercise in, if nothing else.
So I'm super excited on this episode because we're going to be talking about the January-February 2023 PoolPro Magazine issue, and it's just phenomenal, and I love all the stories inside of it, including, you know, the focus on pool plaster. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have always felt like the plaster side of the industry has been kind of underrepresented, at least as far as, you know, coverage. People writing about it, people covering it, just even other parts of the industry talking about it. And so I usually go to the National Plasterers Council conference every year that I can. And I'm pretty sure I've said this on the podcast before, but it is where I think I've learned the most about correctly building a pool. And it's just a really great group. And again, it's fascinating, and it's where I learn the most. And so they have their conference in February. And so I was like, you know what, we're going to do a plaster issue, and we're going to take it to that conference. We're going to give these guys some love because they, sort of like the service industry, the plasterers are kind of the last ones to touch a pool build and often get blamed for things that aren't actually their fault, like service companies. So I don't know. It's just a side of the industry that I think is interesting. And I was really excited to put together a whole issue basically devoted to that part of our industry.
I love it. So before we go any further, how can people get the magazine? You talked about this in the magazine where you have a campaign in order to get, you know, more people's information and also just learn more about what they do and what take they have on the business. Because at the end of the day, you got to do your job, which is writing articles and structuring all of this, which is not easy. So I'm sure you rely heavily on the people in the field, you know, getting you know, these stories.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm not out there servicing pools every day. And so you guys are going to see things and know things happening in the industry, you know, a lot of times before I will. And so we really depend on that feedback, and we really depend on that communication with our readers to kind of know what's going on out there. But yes, you can always pick up PoolPro for free at SCP and Superior Pool Products across the country. But we have started a new subscription campaign. And so if you go to poolpromag.com/subscribe, we just need your information kind of about what you do in the industry, the mailing address you want the magazine to go to, and we will send you one for free.
Yeah, just Social Security, birth certificate,
yeah,
firstborn, all that good stuff.
No big deal. We just want to know everything there is to know about you.
Comes with a passport. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, it's great though, because that information, obviously, I mean, you know, from doing the podcast, it's good to have a really good idea of who your audience is. I feel like I know our audience very well, but having kind of the statistics to back it up is great. And so that's really what we're going for. And also, you know, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I pull up our subscriber list to find people to talk to in the magazine too. I mean, those are the people I know are reading the magazine and are engaged and know who we are and have more of a vested interest in talking to us. So that happens quite a bit where I pull up that subscriber list and I'm like, who haven't we talked to on here that would be interesting to call up?
Yeah, that's good. And can you get information from people if they're going to be in Atlantic City? Like we talked about, trying to get this episode out while the Atlantic City pool show is going on.
Yeah.
So if people want to stop by the booth and, you know, either update their information or give you new address, whatever it may be, can they do that there?
Yeah, absolutely. If you come by our booth, we will have QR code ready to go. And you can just scan that QR code, enter all the information as you're standing there and chatting with us. So making it really easy for people to do this. And yes, please come by our booth. So I think we're in the way back corner. So you're going to have to make it all the way through the show. Maybe start in that back corner. I think that's a great idea. Just, yeah, come say hi. It'll be me and the other Megan in the booth for this show. And yeah, I'm excited to head back to Atlantic City and see everybody. That's always such a great show.
It really is. So let's talk about sort of the main story of the magazine and the gentleman that's on the cover. I mean, this dude looks yoked. I mean, he's older, but I didn't see anywhere where he talked about him lifting weights, because he looks like he's got, I'm not going to call him an old man, but like that old man strength that could just strangle me to death.
He's got that big barrel chest,
Look at his arms. His arms are humongous.
Man. Yeah, I know.
Even the crew behind him, I'm like, dude,
I was going to say, his whole team looks like that. Yeah, I feel like they must get together in the mornings and work out before they start the day, because that's not... They put in some work, I think.
They do everything by hand. They don't use wheelbarrows or dollies or anything. Yeah.
I mean, it looks like they could if they wanted to, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Jon Temple, the owner of Tempool, they're a plastering company in Florida, and he's kind of a legend in the plaster industry. He speaks at NPC all the time. He just really, really knows his stuff, and they plaster thousands and thousands of pools there in Florida, and then all over the world. He goes around and consults on different jobs and trains people and all kinds of things, and just like one of those people who is so generous with their time and knowledge. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to put him on the cover. Like, first of all, like, let's have a plaster OG, just right up there, the guy that everybody knows in the industry. Well, there's a few of them, but it's like, let's get someone on here who's pretty solid for our first plaster issue. And then also someone who is so focused on giving back to the industry, and just so really open to helping people and to sharing that knowledge from plastering thousands and thousands and thousands of pools.
Yeah, I read in there was like 65,000 pools, 22 countries over the span of 23 years or something like that. And I'm just
like, you remember the numbers better than I do, because I was like, I couldn't pull those out.
Well, I was memorizing some stuff on the way over here, even though I read it prior, but I geek out on that stuff. I really do. And what I also thought was inspiring, given this is kind of trade show season, is that he met one of his mentors early on in his career at a trade show. And he was just saying it was somebody that he respected, and he was somebody that was well respected in the industry. But they connected at a pool show, and that's where they kind of just, he just took it more serious. And I just thought it was cool. I know it's something that I'm constantly working on, is trying to go to a pool show and not be such a sort of shy introvert, because I think it's so critical to be there and not be afraid to network. If you see somebody, they have plaster, they usually have the name of their company on their shirt or something. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about them, or you think you might know them from social media or whatever it may be, like, don't be afraid to connect with those people. I mean, that's kind of half of why you are there, Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I'm like you. I that's not natural for me to do that kind of, to like talk to a stranger. That, it helps having a booth, because, you're there to talk to people. And so it's not awkward if you just start, saying hi and asking strangers random questions. But you put me in a networking event or party, and I don't know what I'm doing with myself. So, but it is so important. And, Randy Dukes is the guy that he hooked up with at that trade show. And it's really funny, because at the last NPC, I was at one of those networking events, not knowing what to do with myself. And, who should take me under their wing? Not Randy Dukes, but his wife.
Nice.
And another wonderful person in the industry who is an icon when it comes to the plaster side of the pool industry.
Yeah, and I don't know everything about plaster, but I do know that is one of those things that can make or break a pool. There's a ton of preparation even, prior to starting the plastering. And even afterwards, you can do everything flawless and then the startup goes bad. But yeah. I love that you covered this because it's definitely one of those things that I feel like I hear a lot more technical plaster talk, whether it be podcast or from the NPC, different things like that, because, people usually know a little bit about that. But, this was just kind of a cool sort of story about how he got started.
Throughout the magazine, we talk about Jon and his company as kind of like the main thing. But throughout the whole issue, we kind of talk about all aspects of plaster. So we talk about, how you plaster those giant commercial pools, which I think is a fascinating process to watch, to see those guys out there and just working like a machine. It's so fascinating. And then we cover the startup, which we've talked about in the magazine. This is not the first time or the last time, but it's such a critical aspect in all of this that you kind of can't have a plaster issue without covering startup, because it's just so obviously so critical.
Yeah. Tons of good information. There's a lot about plaster in this magazine. So if you haven't already seen it, definitely go check it out.
Yeah. And come to the NPC show with me in February. It's on Coronado. It'll be beautiful.
Is it really?
Yes.
I can do that. I can do Coronado.
I think you should. I think you should come and hang out. These are true tradesmen and women who are out there doing this. And I love going and listening to them talk, because they'll look at a pool and they can say, well, they weren't using the right trowel size, and they weren't using the trowel at the right angle, and they did this too fast. And it's so interesting, all how down to the nitty gritty they can get, that I would have never understood if I hadn't gone and spent some time with them.
Yeah, it's really like a handmade product,
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. So
bespoke.
What are some of the other things in the magazines outside of plaster? What other stories did you cover?
So we talked about the NPC show, and we talk about the Atlantic City Pool and Spa show. Those take up a lot of space in the magazine, and we try to kind of distill it down to the events and seminars that we think our audience would be interested in, that we think pool service companies would be interested in. So we kind of cut out the stuff that doesn't pertain to you, and put in the things that mostly would fit in with what our people are looking for. We covered the Pool Nation Awards, which was a really fun event in Las Vegas. Covered all of the winners from that big event, which was a fun thing to attend, and fun to give those people some more space, some more kudos for what they did. But we give it up to them. I mean, they put on an incredible event, everything that they're doing. I'm super stoked and proud of everything that they're doing. I would have went to the awards, but I wasn't even thinking about it. I didn't, bring a suit or anything like that. And I totally respect that. You got to plan ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you see all the photos in the magazine, and, you can listen to their podcast, and, they're all dressed to the nines. And I think that is something very special to the pool industry, is that, we all get banged up working in the field. And I think it's nice to kind of collectively come together, and, you earn an award, you pass out awards, and you're dressed for the occasion. I think it's really cool. Hopefully that just keeps on going on and evolves over time.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that, the service side of the industry doesn't always get the respect that it deserves, right? And so, we think that the service side of the industry deserves a glossy magazine where they are represented on the cover of each issue, right? And it's the same thing, I think, with the awards. It's like, these guys are out there every day working hard, but you deserve to, get spiffed up and and be rewarded and recognized for some of that hard work. So it's really, yeah, it's really a heartwarming thing to go to.
And I saw that you had some other different things going on. I didn't read all of the article, but I saw you had my man Dave Van Brunt in there as
Oh yeah,
one of
someone you know, right? Yeah, I mean, how I can't believe it's taken us this long to profile him, just because, like, again,
Is it the first time?
He has been in the magazine.
You've been sleeping
before.
on David Van Brunt?
No, I mean, it's like I know him. I have his book on my bookshelf. Like,
you don't reach out to him. He's a busy man.
Oh, this is very, very, very true. But yeah, so I can't believe it's taken us this long to profile him. We've had him in the magazine before, but yeah, that was really fun. And yeah, just another like unsung hero of the industry, right?
He really is.
We also, in this issue, we started a series with, it's actually, he's my business coach. And I love him so much. He has worked with a lot of different contractors. He's worked with a lot of different pool people here in the Oklahoma City area. Really knows his stuff, has been in and out of all kinds of businesses. And so he's running a series this year about knowing your numbers, which is, again, an aspect that we don't always talk about as much as we should, right? We cover a lot of the technical things. There's a lot of technical training out there. There's not a lot of people or places you can go to say, how do I understand my P&L and what do I do with this thing? And so that is what this is going to cover. He and I are actually going to put together some podcast episodes for it on the Spa Retailer podcast. So if you're interested in learning more about that kind of stuff, you could hop over to the hot tub side of the industry for a little bit and listen to him and I speak. But he is someone that I highly respect. I credit him with so much. I credit him with my sanity, honestly. Sometimes I think he's more of a psychologist and a counselor than a business coach, but he's just a really great person and really knows his stuff.
I think something that doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to knowing your numbers and everything business is kind of the mental and discipline aspect of it, is because there's just things in life that are going to happen, and they happen to everybody. And it's really about the ones that make it are the ones that can go through all types of different adversity, things with your family, things with your team. You got to move out of your building, whatever it is. The ones that get ahead are the ones that, make decisions fast, and they get better at making decisions as time goes on. Working with Justin Bowie here of JMax, I mean, watching the way that he takes on problems all the time, it's phenomenal. And you can see that in a lot of great leaders, that they have that discipline and they just keep on going. So I'm really excited to listen to that. That's on the Spa Retailer podcast.
The Spa Retailer podcast. Yeah. So we have a sister magazine called Spa Retailer that is for hot tub retail stores and retail store owners. So a little bit, we kind of cover the industry in two different spheres.
Yeah. And I would suggest to everybody to listen to both, read both, because being on the pool service side, I wish that is something that we would have taken more serious. Just talking to, more homeowners, pool owners, and dude, so many people are asking about hot tubs. And if you're a pool professional and you can be that person, I mean, there's a lot of money just in you making that sale of a hot tub. And, you're doing filter cleans like once a month. There's all the different maintenance aspects of it. So I definitely think that that's something to look into on the spa side for sure.
Don't turn your nose up at the hot tub industry. There's a lot of money. A lot of money rolling around on that side of the business.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because on the hot tub side, obviously there's a boom for everybody over the last couple of years from the pandemic. But on the hot tub side, it's really swim spas that continue to have like double-digit growth over spas. And that's what a lot of people are getting them for, right? Is they're a pool replacement. They don't want to go through the time or hassle or expense of building a pool. And for, less money. You can have a swim spa, get a big enough body of water to be able to use in a lot of the same ways. And so, yeah, I think that it's definitely something that the pool industry shouldn't ignore, because those swim spas and those kind of like prefab plunge pools, those kinds of things are definitely something that consumers are paying a lot more attention to.
Yeah, there's something about a spa, the way, people are getting into the cold plunges and all these different things, they help people cope with, all the craziness in the world. And I think when you present that to people, they'll jump all over that. And there's probably pretty seamless financing for those things, I'm imagining too, right?
I would imagine it's a pretty simple process compared to trying to get, construction loans for pools and permits and all of that kind of stuff. You don't necessarily, depending on where you are, you don't necessarily have to go through that process, when you're dealing with a hot tub or a swim spa. Sometimes you do, depending on where you're at.
So we will wrap this up here pretty soon, but I just thought of something. Is there any type of story that you're looking for the upcoming future? Any, phase or part of the industry? Like if somebody's listening and they do, plumbing, electrical service, only repairs, only automation, above ground pools. I mean, is there something specific that you kind of have your eye on, and, if anybody does it well, they should reach out?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of things that we're looking at, coming up here is we are doing some stories on the commercial side of the pool industry. There's some people who do residential and commercial. A lot of people only do commercial. For some reason, the commercial side of the industry has been kind of hard to cover. I think because it entails so many different aspects, and it could be like a HOA pool to a water park. So yeah, if you have a lot to say about the commercial side of servicing in the industry, dealing with HOAs, that kind of stuff, send it our way for sure. And then coming up too, we're looking at featuring women in the pool industry, pool service industry again, because that was so much fun. I loved it. It was one of our most talked about issues ever. So we're definitely doing that again. So if you know a woman in the pool service industry, who either an owner or someone who's just working out there in the field, I mean, send them our name. We are collecting names of people to talk to coming up here really quick. And then,
do you care the size of their business? And
we've definitely had some one poolers that we've featured on the magazine before. And yeah, for sure, we do not look down on that side of the industry. All are welcome here at PoolPro. Every size pool service company that there is.
Very good.
I will say, so the one other thing that we've got coming up that we're working on is for our issue over the summer, we're kind of switching things up a little bit, and we're really focusing on sort of the mental health aspect of working in the pool industry in the summer. I think that the summer season, it just takes a big toll on everybody, right? It takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on your relationships. It's just a tough. And so if you have found some interesting ways that you've learned to kind of make it through the summer with your sanity and your relationships and your business still intact, I mean, I would love to hear it, because it's, I don't think it's something it's just not something we talk about.
Thank you so much, Megan. Appreciate your time and being with me on this Saturday after your daughter's first basketball game. Everybody listening, go grab the latest January, February 2023 issue of PoolPro Magazine. You can find it at SEP, Superior, anywhere else.
You can read all of our content online, and if you want it to come to your home or office, just go check out poolpromag.com/subscribe.
And don't forget to pop into the PoolPro booth
right.
in Atlantic City. And Spa Retailer will be there too as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We split our booth. One side is PoolPro, the other side is Spa Retailer. So yeah, if you want to get a copy of Spa Retailer, you can do that too.
Very good. Thank you so much, Megan.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. You can find everything discussed in this episode and more in our show notes below or poolchasers2.0.com. This episode was produced by the amazing Kyle Auld. I'm Greg Villafana, and you've been listening to the Pool Chasers Podcast.